How to insulate a loft. Here we're going to show you how to fit loft insulation rolls, as well as how to insulate pipes and cold water tanks. This guide is based on installing glass mineral loft insulation wall rolls, but bear in mind that different insulation materials may have different fitting methods, so be sure to check the manufacturer's instructions. You'll find a full list of tools and materials you'll need at the end of this video. Thorough preparation is key to achieving a long-lasting finish, so see our online guide or leaflet for advice on planning and preparation, safety and aftercare. Before starting, make sure your loft has ventilation gaps at the eaves or is fitted with loft ventilation. Then, remove any stored items from the loft so you can work in a clean and uncluttered space. If your loft has existing loft insulation in between the joists, measure the depth of it. Ideally, this base layer needs to have a depth of 100 mm and come up to no more than 25 mm above or below the joist. A second layer of at least 170 mm can then be laid over the top of the joists to get you to the recommended building regulations guide of 270 to 300 mm. Start by lining your cold water tank with a specifically designed jacket, being sure to follow the manufacturer's instructions. To insulate pipes, measure the length of insulation you need and cut it to size with a snap-off knife. Then, secure the pipe insulation with duct tape. Insulation shouldn't be laid over any electric cables, so where possible, clip them to the roof joists or gently lift them out of the way whilst you install, before laying them over the insulation when it's in position. If you have recessed lights, now's the time to install downlight protectors, being sure to follow the manufacturer's instructions. Once the insulation roll is in position, measure the width of roll you need to fit between the joists. This tends to be either 400 or 600 mm. Then, cut the roll to size using a handsaw or kitchen knife. Save the insulation material packaging. It'll come in handy when insulating the loft hatch later on. Position the crawling boards in the furthest corner of the loft. You'll need to start laying with a minimum gap of 25 mm between the eaves and the insulation to ensure a suitable air gap. Maintain this gap along the two opposite sides of the loft. Make sure that the wall plate is covered. Then roll out the insulation, moving backwards so you are working towards the centre of the loft to avoid putting your weight directly onto the insulation. Gently push the insulation so it fits snugly between the joists, but don't compress it, as that will reduce its efficiency. When you reach a crossbeam, use a straight edge or metal ruler and a snap-off knife to cut the insulation to fit. To join two lengths of insulation, simply butt them up tightly. Continue to lay until the first layer is in position, cutting the insulation as required to fit any awkward spaces. To reach the recommended loft insulation depth of between 270 and 300 mm, a second layer will need to be added. Simply unwrap the insulation and lay at 90 degrees to the first layer and ceiling joists. You may find it easier to cut the roll into sections if working in very confined spaces. As before, when joining two lengths, make sure the butt joint is a snug fit. Then, continue to lay until the entire loft is covered. To finish the job, measure the loft hatch and cut insulation to size. You'll probably need 2 layers to achieve the recommended depth. Wrap the insulation you've cut in some of the insulation packaging, as this will allow it to be secured in position. Then simply secure the insulation to the loft hatch using a staple gun or large-headed tacks. Here's the list of tools you'll need to insulate your loft. And here are the materials you'll use. And this is the recommended safety equipment needed.